Hello YouTube and welcome to a new lore video. It's been a while. So today we're talking about an elven clan, the Direnni, that are in my opinion very interesting, and I'm really surprised that I haven't talked about them before. It's been a while since last video, but let's just not let that stop us and begin immediately with this video. So, the Direnni are a clan of elven merchants who ruled over large portions of High Rock during the First Era. This ruling clan ruled a portion of the land that is basically this area of High Rock, that's basically around the Adamantine Tower, which is positioned on the island of Balfiera. I completely butchered that pronunciation, but I don't care. This area was called the Direnni Hegemony and was ruled by members of the clan Direnni for several hundred years. Now, due to wars and historical vagueness, we cannot be 100% sure of the exact borders of the hegemony, but considering the sources that we have, this might just be the best guess we can make of the borders of the hegemony during their peak of influence and before the Great Conquerings. Originally, the Direnni were Altmer from the Somerset Isles. They lived in the small farming village called Turgiel, which was in the Somerset Isles during the Moradic era. Here they apparently worked with the entire family, including distant cousins, in perfect harmony to have one of the best crop yields of all of Somerset. However, that area was particularly overrun with bandits and other savages, and apparently also barbarians. The village had relative safety, but anyone going out of the village was at risk. However, one of the Direnni members, named Asliel Direnni, was apparently one of the founders of the art of alchemy, and he used the skill he had to make a poison that would take out the most powerful barbarian tribe in the area, and thus the threat to the village was ended. This led the Direnni to expand their farms, and for years they would become richer and very powerful. They even built an entire acropolis, a big luxurious living community with a castle for themselves. Eventually, a large part of the Direnni clan would migrate to the Tamrielic mainland, and would settle themselves in the area around the Adamantine Tower. Eventually, they managed to rise to power in many cities and towns in the area, through political schemes and use of their wealth, thus creating the Direnni Hegemony, a loose bond of states all under the control of the Direnni. Now, at the same time, the Direnni back home in the Acropolis were in decline, and after a member of the Direnni clan had turned to necromancy and was sealed inside the castle and its surroundings were eventually abandoned. The Direnni that remained on the Somerset Isle would mingle with the population, eventually leading to the decline and prominence of the Direnni on the Somerset Isles. In High Rock, however, the Direnni had risen to prominence. They now had a hold of a lot of regions in High Rock surrounding the Adamantine Tower, and had control of the tower itself and the surrounding Isle of Balfiera. Now, after the Cyrodiilic elves, the Aeliots, got hunted down by the Alessian Order in the First Era, many Aeliots sought refuge in High Rock, in the kingdoms of their Direnni elven brethren, where they were welcomed with open arms, because many of the Aeliots that were able to migrate to High Rock were all strong soldiers, talented mages, alchemists or merchants, strengthening the kingdoms of the Direnni Hegemony. This led to the Direnni kingdoms wanting to expand eventually, and they decided to use their newfound military prowess to conquer the entirety of High Rock, and after a while also began colonizing the northern coast of Hammerfell. The final conquest would be several Skyrim territories, first beginning in the Reach, during the institutional chaos during the Civil War in Skyrim, what that was called the War of Succession. Then after the Reach, the Direnni proceeded to then conquer more territories in Skyrim, and those were all added to the hegemony, claimed in the name of their ancient former cousins that were exterminated by the Nords. However, down south problems were brewing. After the outlaw of the religious Alessian reforms in the population of the hegemony began launching attacks on the Alessian-controlled territories. Some minor raids and small territories were taken, however the Alessians took great offense to this, and they decided to launch an all-out attack on the Direnni hegemony of states. At first this did not go well for the hegemony, as the hegemony was invaded very quickly. However, as the battle for the Glanumbria Moors began, the Direnni received help from the Nordic Empire and even from remaining Aeliots. And with that help they were able to crushingly defeat the Alessian Order. However, as amazing as this victory was, the alliance with the Nords quickly fell apart, as the Nords reconquered their precious Skyrim from the Direnni Hegemony. Not only that, but the hegemony lost control over many of its territories to humans and non-Direnni clan rulers, as the hegemony had never truly been centralized, and thus some territories chose to leave it once there was military weakness. And with their military weakened after the Battle of Granumbria Moors, the Direnni military was basically too weak to keep hold of these lands. Now, what was left of the hegemony also quickly started collapsing. Some kingdoms within the hegemony saw uprisings by the Bretons, where the Bretons had been repressed, and in other kingdoms the Bretons started to get more political prominence and eventually managed to peacefully take over rule. This ended the prominence of Direnni rule across High Rock, and this was around the year 500 of the First Era. While some kingdoms fell in bloody uprisings where the Bretons had been repressed, most apparently went peaceful. A gradual process after the Direnni prowess became less and less, and Breton nobility saw chances for expansion. After a considerable amount of time, all Direnni power had disappeared from the mainland. The remaining members of the clan had all retreated themselves to the Isle of Balfiera with the adamantine tower on it, having their own Direnni kingdom there. To our knowledge, they never again tried to expand and rather became a neutral power in High Rock that would be a neutral meeting place for the many squabbling kingdoms of High Rock. So basically High Rock Switzerland. By the year 800, 300 years after their glorious hegemony had ended, all the Direnni had retreated to the island. Now, while their kingdom is small, they are still very much respected in High Rock and even across Tamriel. Throughout history, some of the members of the Direnni clan have had very influential positions on Tamriel, even if their kingdom after the fall of the hegemony seems insignificant, as the island where they are based is pretty small. Their influence, however, is not insignificant in the slightest. For example, Paladil Direnni was a Direnni elf living in the Second Era and was the battlemate to the first Akaviri potentate during the Second Era, and was one of the key people in getting the Imperial Guild Act to be put to legislation. Without him, there would be no Mages Guild or there would be no Fighters Guild later in the timeline. During the Third Era, Euthelia Direnni even became Empress as wife of Emperor Magnus and mother of Pelagius Septim III. Jovron Direnni was a battle mage of Empress Kataraya and aided her in her attempt to bring peace and stability back to Tamriel. The Elder Council and religious head of the empire even made her a saint. And finally there was Vorian Direnni, a great alchemist and advisor to Uriel Septim VII and High Chancellor Oketo before they were assassinated. The Direnni clan also made an appearance in the Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall, where the Isle of Balfiera is still under their control. The hero of Daggerfall can then help to free a member of the Direnni clan from a curse. Now, life in the old Direnni hegemony was pretty good. The states were pretty rich and they were basically a mercantile empire. For elves, life was pretty good, and in most kingdoms in the hegemony the human needs were respected. However, they were still second-class citizens, but respected second-class citizens. Now, true repression never happened there, no tyrannical rule or anything like with the Aliads and the Needs. This is part of the reason that the Bretons would later never truly hate the Direnni. Now, to be fair, due to their status as second-class citizens, the Needs often found themselves as servants, and at one point a law was even institutionalized in the hegemony that allowed Direnni to procreate with their servants, the Needs, and then the Needs were often taken as partners or even intercourse servants. If you understand my meaning. It's even said that the Direnni nobles strove to collect the prettiest humans for their court to mate with them, but this is just basically a legend. Now, this eventually led to years upon years of men and elves interbreeding in High Rock, giving birth to the Manmer, the Breton race, who would live side by side with their elvish cousins, or parents. We don't know exactly how they see the elves. Even if they were second-class citizens, they would live in relative harmony and they would never truly be repressed. Rather, they would be respected and even got the opportunity to grow into nobility of their own. As said before, the hegemony was a rather loose empire, a bond of states, with each kingdom having great autonomy. The rule in the hegemony was largely based on feudalistic principles, humans and elves living side by side, although the elves dominated the upper social classes and the humans dominated the lower social classes, so the humans were truly second-class citizens, but I mean, they weren't repressed as much. Now, what are the Direnni doing today? We have no idea. Last time we got a sight into how they were doing is with the book on them, which was written in the late Third Era, the Rerum Dirennis. But if I have to guess, the Direnni are probably still on their island as a neutral and now peaceful power. Probably still part of the Empire as they are officially part of High Rock, but to be fair, We don't know anything on their current political alignment, perhaps they even side with the Thalmor, but looking at their history I somehow doubt it. But we don't know, that's all I can say. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more lore-related content. I'm gonna try to fix my upload schedule. I know that it's been terrible, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to fix it, okay? I'm just a bit busy. But yeah, that said, if you want to support me in a more personal way, there's of course my Patreon. And if you want personal contact with me, there is my Discord and Instagram in the description. And with that said, I think I'll see all you later. Bye.